this first of the Gap Days in May. And I've entitled it Up Close and Personal because it really is about getting down to the nitty gritty, the roots of so many of the conditions, the beliefs, the patterns, the contracts, the vows, and everything else that we have been embodying, which have perhaps gotten in the way of us fully embracing and being in the sovereignty of our true divine self. And having read Carl Boudreau's astrological forecast from May for the next 18 months, which he called Heartquake, and I just loved it, I can well understand why the dragon energies have actually presented themselves so strongly now, because he speaks about this, the conjunctions and the various relationships of the planet Venus over the next 18 months is really tearing down the barriers of the heart, bringing us into right relationship, if you like, with our divine essence, with others, with the earth, with the planet, with all of life. And he speaks about radical and permanent change through this process. So it's a very, very exciting time. And a lot of that change, obviously associated with the planet Venus, is actually associated with the Divine Mother. The divine is a time of transformation by and through the divine feminine essence and energies. So, as we know from the previous webcasts, that is really the representation of the dragon. That's what the dragon is called forth, that brings to us, is the gift of transcendence, transformation, unity, wholeness, rebalance, the rising of the phoenix from the ashes. It's that divine alchemy. It brings us into communion with that aspect of the divine mother that lives within us, that lives within the very cells in our body. So to me, it's very, very meaningful and pertinent, and it made sense to me straight away of why the dragon energy is presenting to so many people at the moment. So we were just chatting about this picture offline. So for those of you that have just joined again, it's an image that I unfortunately have no credit for. So I do apologize to whoever the artist is. It's a beautiful, beautiful image that really encompasses the alchemical work that we're going to do today. And I'm just going to guide you through that process shortly. And the content of the work that we're going to do. But it speaks very, very deeply of the alchemical process, black being the color of the Divine Mother. So we're going to work with the black dragon, the black rose, the black diamond, as well as with the red dragon, which is the resonance of today, in order to bring about the rebirthing of aspects of ourselves in order to fuel the alchemical process. So really moving from a deep inner place where we've been with the recent Mercury retrogrades and coming back out into the world and being able to fuel our expression from a new depth of trust, from a new depth of love, from a new depth of communion with that divine feminine within. So just a very pertinent, very relevant image for us. Now, I had a chat with a couple of them offline. Yes, Claire, the black does link to Kali as well as a manifestation of the divine feminine. She's one of the faces, yeah, of the divine feminine. And Kali is the destroyer. So we know her not only as the destroyer, she's also the rebirther of new realities, and that's the full essence of the ultimate divine feminine. So we'll be exploring different facets of that through some of the upcoming journeys with the different dragon energies. So what I'm going to do, and this is something I just checked with the guys offline, is I'm going to just spend the first few moments with a slide that I actually prepared with a chart of the Schumann resonances, because there is so much being spoken about out there, so much of which is misunderstood and is a misunderstanding and a distorted analysis of what is actually happening, if you like. In fact, I do find it really interesting what the response is from some people have actually been when I have spoken about the Schumann resonances, because they're claiming that this is measured and scientifically validated and using this to substantiate the fact that the resonances are supposedly increasing. But when you point out that their analysis of the information is actually incorrect, the response is really that, well, we're all gods and goddesses and instruments can't measure everything. So it's really it's a case of cognitive dissonance and perhaps being in a little bit of denial in respect of what is truly happening. So if you guys would have noted, obviously in the latest newsletter and in my blog, I've got a post which includes a statement from the HeartMath Institute in respect of the Schumann resonances. So I don't want to spend too much time with this, but I just thought that the visual may support your understanding if you are now explaining or perhaps correcting others who are of the misunderstanding that it is increasing. So very basically, because the history of the Schumann resonances is online for you to research, but the resonances themselves, and you will note that it is plural. It's not just the Schumann resonance. It is the resonances are a range of frequencies that always have existed since the time that they were discovered and since the time that they actually began measuring them. So these are the frequencies within the Schumann resonance range that are actually measured. Okay, so you'll see here that the first frequency is the 7.8 hertz that a lot of people refer to. Now, the 7.8 hertz is that frequency between 7.8 and around about 13. We have a correspondence with alpha brainwave patterns. And this is the signature and the frequency that you tend to connect with that helps to soothe and put you into a semi-meditative state when you're out in nature. Because the base pulse of Mother Earth is also in the range, it is a separate beat. So the heartbeat of Mother Earth is not the Schumann resonance. There is a separate magnetic pulse through the Earth of 10 hertz. But 10 hertz actually falls within the range of the alpha frequency. So there is an opportunity to synchronize with the heartbeat pulse of the Earth when we are within this brainwave frequency. So at the lower end of the resonances. So that has always existed. However, what has also always existed within the frequency range are these higher bands. They are always there. Okay. And the intensity of these frequencies differs depending on where in the world they are measured. They may differ in intensity dependent upon the lightning strikes. Now, this little diagram here, I just want to show you what generates the resonances are lightning strikes which create or excite the electromagnetic standing waves within this cavity between the surface of the Earth and the surface of the ionosphere. So what creates the resonances is lightning. So places on the Earth where you have more lightning create what are known as chimneys. And there are three main chimneys around the world where the resonances are particularly strong, and then the signals then travel around the Earth. But these signals also differ depending on whether it's day or night, depending on what season we're actually in. So there's a constant fluctuation and a flow and a movement in and out of all of these resonances. They all exist. Three of the chimneys that are very significant. There's one in South America where they have a lot of lightning. So that's a very strong chimney. That's this little chimney. They have another one in Southeast Asia. And the strongest of them all is Africa. So what that really means is that in that area, these signals are particularly strong because that's where the lightning is actually generating the frequencies and those signals. So What does happen from time to time is that when there are disturbances to the ionosphere, as in when we have solar flares, when we have geomagnetic events, the weakening magnetic shield of the Earth, it can slightly change the depth or the height of the ionosphere, but it's a minimal change. And this can cause, if there's a lot of lightning as well, if there's a lot of electrical activity in the cavity, it can cause or change a spike in one of the pre-existing frequencies. It doesn't mean that the frequencies are increasing. It just means that one or other of the frequencies within the range has been temporarily intensified. And usually it reverts back to normal when that disturbance actually goes away. So it's a temporary spike in the resonances. Now, what is also interesting is that when you get up to the high end of the frequency range, when you start getting up to, they take it out of here, 60 hertz is apparently one of the resonances that is pre-existing. However, the standard power lines that are used to transmit electricity also resonate at 60 hertz. So there's a lot of interference up at this end of the spectrum where you would be getting inaccurate measurements and information because of the artificially produced electromagnetic fields coming from power lines. Okay, so they take the 60 hertz out of this, out of the equation. Would what cause earthquakes? Well, the disturbances to the electromagnetic field can and often do precipitate earthquakes. So it's not the Schumann resonances themselves that actually cause earthquakes, because they only exist between the surface of the Earth and the ionosphere. But the electromagnetic disturbances within the magnetic field can and do impact on the movement of what is happening within the Earth's crust. So the Schumann resonances themselves do not cause earthquakes. They actually entrain us more beneficially into this frequency. So what you have, so this is the alpha brainwave frequency. Below this, you have theta and delta, which is sort of deep relaxation and sleep. 14 hertz takes us into beta brainwave activity, which is wide awake and alert, okay, and cognitive. Too much stimulation in the beta frequency, depending on exactly how and when it's happening, can cause anxiety because the mind or the cognitive functions actually start working overtime. I thought you might say that, Rachel. Rachel's just said, it would be really helpful if you could make this information into a video that we could share. I'm going to see what I can do. So I'll put together possibly a little bit more information and do an extensive video. So what the guys are saying is like, you know, when they're talking about this, it's never before, Schumann resonances have never before been at 36 hertz. You know, and I'm going, but it's part of the natural frequency range, and it is always there. It has always existed. The only thing that is different is that it was a temporary spike at 36 hertz that people were actually seeing. Plus, what is also really, really important to understand and is really significant is the fact that some of the equipment that is actually measuring the resonances is perhaps a little bit dubious unless it is one of the, how to put it, one of the expert measuring stations that's been set up by sort of highly qualified electrical engineers. And what can happen is if the station is located in an area where there could be interference or wind on the antenna, can also cause a false spike in the resonance. So it depends on the charts that you are using in respect of how that is then interpreted. And we don't know where on the planet that was measured, number one. And number two, we also don't know what the conditions were around the antenna at that particular time. But the truth is that all of these resonant frequencies have always existed. They are always there. So you might get a spike in one area and then it settles back down to normal, to the normal range and the normal levels once the whatever has interfered with that reading has actually passed. And that was also, I contacted the HeartMath Institute because I really wanted their take on it. And that was where I got, and I was really delighted about that, the statement from their research coordinator, who also contacted many of the acknowledged experts and those that are actually consistently monitoring the Schumann resonances for insight and input before that statement was actually issued as well. So the statement from the HeartMath Institute is they are not increasing. So we don't know, sort of where this supposed spike at 90 hertz would have actually come from, because in my research I haven't been able to find any information, any other information other than what is being put out there by sort of various New Age proponents and teachers. So does that perhaps help you to put it into perspective? The resonances are not increasing. The range is the same as it has always been. We're not going anywhere from this 7.8 hertz. It's still there. And we can access this signal more easily when we are out in nature, away from any interfering human electromagnetic fields. So thank you for listening to that. So if you come across others that are promulgating the misunderstandings that are actually out there, then perhaps it's then you perhaps have a little bit more information. It is doubtful. Mary Beth has just said, would our consciousness affect us? Because there's a lot of people claiming that our consciousness is affecting the Schumann resonances, and that is why they are increasing. It is very doubtful that that is the case, unless our consciousness is creating lots and lots more lightning in various areas of the world where the resonances are actually being generated. So no, although there is an effect by the resonances on our state of consciousness. Because the minute you start getting up here into these frequencies, you start getting into the gamma brain wave frequency range, and that is responsible and aligns with whole brain thinking, with a high degree of focus. So our alignment with that would produce changes in our consciousness. But we need the whole range. It's not just one. So the range of frequencies is not going to go away. They are just, as I say, sort of temporary intensity spikes within a pre-existing range of frequencies. It's quite possible that maybe CERN has something, could have something to do with the manipulation of these intensities. Although, when I did speak to Benjamin, they did some work when HAARP came online, and his response to my question about HAARP is that HAARP had no influence on the Schumann resonances, and he was measuring them. So that is really interesting. I think HAARP has other effects when it heats up the ionosphere. So that would actually affect it. Well, the thing is, Max has just said, wondering these measurements still applicable as we're going further into quantum state, leaving behind 3D linear. The really interesting thing about this whole process, we talk about moving into 5D, is that we don't leave 3D behind. We expand into a new dimensional reality that encompasses and embraces the 3D reality. So the 3D reality is actually still in existence. It's how we work with that 3D reality in respect of our manifestations, in respect of our living life in the embodied state, which is actually more important. And the big thing is that all of these resonances are important for maintaining our balance and stability within the 3D state, even though we are expanding and beginning to work at more quantum levels and into expanded dimensions. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? We still embody and still embrace the 3D. So we don't go away from it. We actually embrace it. And that's what is happening as we are becoming masters. And okay, you got that. So it's kind of like a bubble within a bubble, so the 3D state sort of still exists as an aspect of that manifestation. And we are here to actually begin to change that 3D reality, but we have a long, long way to go. Okay. We're still very, very much working on that. So what I will do, thanks, your questions have been really, really interesting. And I would appreciate it if you have any more, because what I will then do is take those as part of the foundation for perhaps creating another video that can be shared, which will incorporate those questions. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you. So email me if you have anything else. Okay, so I hope that actually makes sense. Okay, so let's get on to the energies of the moment, the energy signature. And the signature of today, the Gap Day, is the red resonant dragon. And I mean, you can imagine how much I actually loved that when I saw it. And I went, oh, this is just perfect, and continuation of the dragon theme. So when I started doing some reading up about the dragon energy as it is explained or related to with Tolkien and Mayan cosmology, it was just so beautiful because it aligns so strongly and yet very practically with what we are understanding about the dragon energy as a result of the work and the flow that we have actually been engaging in. So today, in respect of their energetic signature, gives us an opportunity to connect with a level of primal trust. So the red resin dragon represents primal trust, and we know that the dragon actually connects us with the primal field of all creation. It is the root source. It's about the root source of life, nourishment, and survival. Very important because there is this connection to the root chakra, and our roots, which is what we're really going to be working with at the moment. So it is about source, unity, wholeness, and interconnectivity. That is how they describe the dragon energy. It is about receptivity. So it is also about breaking down whatever barriers we've held within ourselves to receiving and to fully receiving. So very, very powerful opportunity and a powerful time, the cauldron of creation, which we know. It is also the higher self guide for today. So this is the red cosmic dragon glyph at the center of the day. So that's what really encompasses the energy. The higher self guide, which is this glyph that we see above here, is actually called Skywalker, and that is about a sense of adventure, but it's also about cosmic messengers. So we actually have this balance here between the heaven and the earth. So it's about cosmic messengers. It's about maintaining dynamic equilibrium, balance between the flighty aspects, the adventure, the walking between worlds, the interdimensional, and the earthly. Remember that, one of the things that I said in a previous webcast is that we as embodiments of the dragon energy serve as living bridges between the heaven and the earth. So that's why the earth 3D aspect is still really so important. Dynamic equilibrium, and of course I love that phrase, bearing in mind the jitterbugging that we've been doing, the vector equilibrium. It is about being fluid and flexible. Absolutely. And that has come through in the celestial and astrological alignments as well as a the requirement for a great deal of flexibility. Liberation through love and innocence. It is almost a return to the root source of life, the innocence that actually exists at the root source, and the love that exists within that space, the love of the Divine Mother, and experiencing our liberation through embracing a rebirth into those energies. So it's about birthing new realities and expression and creation through play. And the play aspect is here. This is the I think it's the blue monkey. I think it's actually called the blue monkey. Now, the challenges that face us at this time include being too serious about things. And I can relate to that because I've kind of found myself getting very serious about all sorts of things. Avoiding speaking our truth, which is really interesting because when we speak our truth, we actually stand out, and we can be challenged. And it doesn't often or not always coincide with what the norm is and what other people are accepting as their truth. So it means we have to stand out from the crowd in order to be able to do that. So we can tend to avoid and retreat into our inner space, into the inner womb, as opposed to getting out there. It is using humor as a mask to hide hidden anger or aggression. So it's inappropriate use of humor, which is the challenge here. And about healing the inner child wounds. And this is really where we get to with a lot of the contracts and the vows and everything else that we came in with. There are still so many wounds that lay unacknowledged within our unconscious. So this process of healing and rebirthing, this death to parts of ourselves and rebirthing to new aspects, is a constant cycle. It's part of the constant cycle of life. So it's something that we do keep going through. So I'm not going to say to you guys, well, hey, we're there. Okay, one more process and we're there. It's not. It's just ongoing. We dig deep, and each time we go, we dig a little deeper, and we release something else. With each of the processes that we do. So it's a journey, and it's an amazing journey. So Rachel's just sit here in the chat room as I did some qigong, qigong. I never know how to pronounce it. Qigong this morning. I put myself in my diamond. As I bent my knees, I twisted and opened up the diamond. As I returned, I closed it again. I realized I was doing the jitterbug. That's beautiful. Yes. And sometimes when we feel the energy stagnating, it's just wonderful to go back to the jitterbug energy and being able to use that and work with it in a very powerful way, because that really does begin to infuse the atoms and everything in our body with a new breath of life as we open up to the void and the darkness. Fantastic. Yeah. I like, there are times when I absolutely love this journey, when it's just so fascinating and inspiring for me. When I see all of these little pieces, these jigsaw puzzle pieces coming together, and I go, there's another one, there's another one. So thank you. It's being with you guys as part of this process that also keeps that inspirational excitement alive. Okay, so there's the signature of today: not being too serious, getting back to the innocence, healing the inner child wounds, connecting with new beginnings, nurturing on all levels. And I love this nurturing because the analogy of the tree, if you look around, I don't know about you guys, but suddenly this whole idea of the tree has been coming to me all week. On Facebook and in various posts. It's the amazing emotional bonds that trees have with each other, the way that trees communicate. There's been so much coming up around trees recently. And then I opened Kai Patch's post just this morning, which was his post for the 3rd of May, Astrology for the Soul. And here he's got, look at this, beautiful goddess as a tree with all of the blossoms forming her headdress. And what you don't see are the roots below the soil, and that's really where we're going. And he says, when I am blocked and don't get my way, life is helping me to see what I want. Rather than feeling victimized, I can grow up and lovingly confront. And that's, again, this whole idea of purposeful expression and gentle expression from a perspective of love and understanding rather than the anger and frustration that sometimes goes along with that expression or frustration because we're not getting what we want, because what we think we want, what we think we want is not necessarily what we need. And that's really the whole energy of the moment, is to sort of reconnect with what it is that we really want at our core. So again, we've got a comment here that I've noticed that a lot of spiritual teachers are exposing their whole selves. Yes, no longer being able to hold the position of all knowing. We are our own teachers. Absolutely. There's a truth, beautiful truth. We can't do anything wrong. And that's exactly it. Sort of, we are all our own teachers. So just having the information that supports you, and that's what I really see these gatherings and these opportunities to share being about, because it's an opportunity for you to take a new perspective on information, on the processes, on the energetics, and to become your own teacher. So yes, we do, a wonderful guided process and a wonderful journey through these times. And ultimately you are. It's not about telling you who you are or telling you anything. It's about supporting the process of restoring you to the natural teacher and to the actual divine gift that you are in your wholeness. I did see a couple of comments starting to come into the chat room here. Psychological influences. Yeah, it's obvious now when people are not completely authentic. Yes. Yeah, it is. And I also look at things that are just here being repeated in repeated parrot fashion. And the minute I hear things being repeated, the little radar goes up. And have you actually questioned what it is that you're just repeating? And yeah, that's a really big thing for me. Okay. So Carl Boudreau, that article is linked in the newsletter, The Heart Quakes. It's really about dissolving boundaries to the inner sacred heart and reforming all of our relationships. That starts now in May and really takes us through the journey for the next 18 months. Really powerful, deep work and deep processing. And I loved that he says this is radical change that can't be undone. Once this change is actually affected, there's no way we can go back to what we were or who we were. So very, very powerful influences astrologically at the moment. It is about embracing the divine feminine, the beloved mother, and the nurturer within us, making space for that to become embodied. It's about gentle yet direct heart communication of inner truths. So you see how this actually aligns with the Mayan cosmology and the signatures of the moment. It's about liberation and new directions. Absolutely. We're following a theme. We have been following it. Externalizing newfound wisdom, which is part and parcel of communication of our inner truths, deeper truths. Self-expression, blossoming. So yes, this journey is one to actually blossoming, showing our true colors in all of their magnificence and beauty. But we got to dig into the roots first and find out how and where we are missing the nourishment that we need in order for this blossoming to take place in its full glory. Nurturing our new growth. So powerful, powerful journeys, all related to the sacred and divine feminine, and rebirthing, literally rebirthing that, which was the theme of all of the dragon gatherings of the last month too. So powerful rebirthing processes. So the guide for today that I have chosen, and this felt really aligned. Number one, because it's the red resonant dragon, And the association with Isis is actually very strongly with the color red. With the wings that she has, she also represents the balance between the divine and the earthly. So the red is the earthly. And the red dragon that we're going to work with is associated with Isis. So let's just have a look at some of the attributes. And there are many. There are obviously many, many. You guys can research, you'll probably find more. But some of the attributes of Isis as a face or a representation of the divine sovereignty, symbolic, magnificent, yes, representation of that divine feminine sovereignty is just a perfect manifestation and support for the process that we're going to engage with at the moment. So Isis is really about serving divinity through our humanness, and that brings us back to the whole 3D thing, is that the whole ascension process, as it is termed, is about ascending in human body. It's not necessarily about going anywhere. It's about embodying all of that sovereignty, being fully that within our humanness. And that's really what Isis brings. And also that absolute reverence for the physical body and the physical form. It's about creating physical sacred spaces as an emanation of the sacredness that we hold and carry. But Isis assists us in creating sacred space. She is a master of alchemical magic, and that's really through this death rebirth cycle and process. There's an alchemy that takes place. Communication with Earth and all of her species, very, very much Earth based, expressing that divinity in all communications and all relationships. Command over the physical elements because of her ability to undertake ceremonial alchemical magic. She has command over all of the elements that make up our physical body, that make up our ability to experience life on Earth. There's an honoring of the cycles of rhythm of the earth, the sun, I didn't put the moon in there, nature, death, rebirth, all of the cycles that you can think of are a natural aspect of attuning to and working with the energy of Isis. So we honor the fact that sometimes it's time to be still, it's time to be quiet, it's time to allow ourselves to integrate some of the changes, and then there's a time to go out there, there's a time to be rebirthed. So all of those, holding everything in dynamic balance, honoring the full abundance of life, creating potential, and recognizing the potential and working with it. So she assists us in creating that field of potential that exists within all of the cells of our bodies, embodying sovereignty and empowerment, being empowered, clearing soul contracts and releasing from the binds. And that's an aspect of the alchemical magic. And this is really the focus of what I want to bring in as we go into the roots of our being, because hidden in amongst those roots that prevent us from perhaps receiving the full nourishment of the Divine Mother, from being able to nurture ourselves in a way that we know will actually support that embodied divinity, are all of the contracts and vows through, not only through different lifetimes, things that we kind of promised loosely in this lifetime, whether it's as children, things that have contributed towards our childhood wounds, to our experiences of life. So I really want to take you through a journey with Isis today in ceremonial magic, with the red dragon and the black dragon and the black rose and the black diamond, where we can work on transforming all of those that actually arise from our roots, so that we have a freshness which is able to encourage our blossoming. So it's clearing and purifying the roots of all of our soul contracts. I'm going to use this imagery of the tree this essence, this understanding, and the tree of life, because we are the living embodiments of the tree of life anyway. So, how does that sound for you guys? Any questions? Any comments? This one. I can send it out to you guys, or the one on the first slide. Which one? The one with the tree, or this one, or the one on the first slide? Rosemary's just said, I want that picture. I don't know whose it is. All of them. Angel baby. Yeah, you see the golden wings. I love this too, because you've got this red snake serpent like um, essence or energy that overlays, and the release of these beautiful enfolding golden wings. They're all very powerful images, and as you can see, they're obviously very specifically chosen for the processes and the work that we do. So, without further ado, that has taken probably just over half an hour, and I think that's enough for the moment. If you're all okay with that, I'm just going to have a quick drink of water. Where I do have source credit for the images, then I actually do put them alongside the image. So, like for instance, this one was on Kai Patch's website. Whether it's his image, I don't know, but it's obviously his astrology for the soul. But it's the one that he used. So I do credit the images if I have the source information. So just bear that in mind when you're using them. So if anybody ever watches this, as I've said before, and I'm using somebody else's image, please accept my apologies. Please contact me so that I can actually put the relevant credits along with the image. Yes, you're right. Yeah, that actually could be a diamond. Diamonds everywhere, right down to the way that electrons spiral in the atoms of what make up the molecules in your body. Powerful, powerful understanding of that fractal pattern. And that to me was just a beautiful realization again today, that that pattern sustains us from the very depths of the what makes up our being, not even just the cells, as I say, right down to the atoms that make up the enzymes and the molecules and the DNA, and everything that makes up our body is fueled by and guided by the essence and energy of the diamond. Okay, guys. So if you are ready already, then I'd like you to be comfortable. Ready. That's fantastic. Okay. And gently close your eyes as you just allow your top eyelid to rest on your lower, surrendering into this space, the sacredness of this time, with its purpose for recovering and embracing your sovereignty, a purpose of rebirthing you into a grander vision or aspect of yourself. Rest into that knowingness and intention as you breathe, breathing in and out in a beautiful natural rhythm that is perfect for you. And for those of you that are familiar with the jitterbug process, you may wish to expand your breathing to include the expansion and contraction, access to the fields of potential, and the creation of your diamond through the jitterbug breathing. Expand, contract, but simply with your breathing, envision your diamond shape, your diamond fields of light taking form around you. Soul star to earth star, holding you balanced, aligned, peaceful, trusting, safe, and ready for transformation. Hold this space as your soul star above and your earth star below activate and come online, each pulsing with their own unique frequencies of color. Be aware of the cells in your body expanding gently with each breath that you take and with the deepening of your alignment within your diamond. Making space. And you find yourself now out beside a body of water on a deep, dark night. The sky around you is patterned with the light, the sparkling drops of 1,000,000,000 stars. Reflecting in the water that you are standing next to. And the first thing that you see or are aware of is a ribbon of stars like the flow of a waterfall or the flow of a river through the night sky. The axis and the river of our very own Milky Way. And descending from this space, almost invisible, is a most beautiful black diamond. You feel the pulsing frequency from within the diamond as it approaches you. You welcome this energy into your space as the black diamond enfolds you, aligning perfectly with the grid formation and the octahedral field already created around and through you. It embraces you in the depths of the vastness of space and the cauldron of the Great Mother. And in response, it's almost as if the spaces between the atoms and molecules in your body becomes more prominent. That what you see when you gaze within your own being is that same vastness of space with pinpricks of light strewn across the canvas of your being. You are a mirror of the visible universe. Within you exists the fractal pattern, the hologram of the entire universe. So the bonds between the molecules begin to dissolve. And you experience space and freedom. You have a taste of the liberation that comes from embracing and being the living hologram, the living bridge between all that is created in the divine likeness of the Great Mother and that which takes form upon the earth through your body. And what we wish to do and our intention through this process is to remove the electromagnetic signatures of some of the vows and contracts that would rebind the molecules in your body in their old familiar ways and seek to restore yet more of the integrity of this universal blueprint or hologram. And you gaze out through your black diamond and see a flash of red streaking its way towards you down the cosmic river of stars. And this red streak takes the form of an amazing, powerful red dragon. She brings with her the personification of the Divine Mother that appears with the form of the goddess Isis, that which we know as the representation of Isis. And the dragon comes to rest beside you. She waits, but she will wait for her role in the process, for the perfect time to share her gifts. As Isis moves towards you with grace, sensuality, with ease, you feel and are aware of the life that is emanating from her, of the sheer power of her presence. Getting closer, you can see in the reflected starlight the dark of her eyes and the reflection of the stars. The depth of her being communicates to you through her amazing eyes. She welcomes you and honors your intention for this process, for she will be your sacred guide. She takes your hands through the fields of the black diamond and gazes into your eyes, communicating her love, her respect, and her honoring for your life and the gifts that you bring. And she holds a promise of assisting to restore you to the sovereignty, to the embodiment of empowerment that is the reason you were created. And with that, she takes from a pouch around her neck a vial of sacred oil, and it contains frankincense, blue lotus, galbanum sacred oils. These are holy oils that have been used from time immemorial, sanctified for the sacred energy that the plants themselves hold. And she anoints you with this oil in preparation for this sacred ceremony. Frankincense, as a deep, earthy fragrance, connects you with the earth, with the sacredness of the planet, while blue lotus, with its airy reaching for the heavens, connects you with the light and the beauty and the airiness of the divine, holding you between the two. And with the application of the oils, you become aware of a movement beneath your feet, your roots extending deep into the earth, branching out, the roots which provide nourishment on a moment by moment basis in your life. They grow out from your feet, extend out from your central core column through your Earth Star energy center. They're brought into sharp awareness as the roots and the foundation that supports you in your manifestations of life. And Isis now steps into your space, into your diamond, and begins to steadily merge with you. You become Isis. You rest into the embrace and the love and the power that she brings. And you are aware of the difference of your experience of your own power and the enormity of the power that Isis brings into your space, into your body. And she draws you down, all of your energy with her now, down into the roots that extend into the darkness of the earth. For it is here that the unconscious vows and contracts have disturbed some of the growth potential within the root system, within your root system. And as you gaze around looking through the eyes of Isis, the starlight shining bright and lighting up this environment for you, it would appear that some of the roots seem to be covered like a strange, powdery film. Some look vibrant and healthy, and you observe these roots drawing up the nourishment from Mother Earth, where others appear to be stagnant, dark patches, tributaries. Just examine your root system. You allow Isis to take you and guide you through the foundations of your life, showing you all of the places where the power that is your birthright has become stagnant, tied up, bound by oaths, vows, contracts, beliefs. And Isis summons the black serpent, the black dragon from deep within the earth. And the dragon emerges to spiral its way around and through your root system. This is the dragon of alchemy. And as she does, Isis now guides you in sacred ceremony to the release of all of the binds that have impacted the performance of your roots. And she speaks and asks you to repeat the following invocations as she assists you along with the black dragon to draw out, to make conscious that which resides within your root system. And you repeat the following. I call forth any shame that exists within my roots, that I was created to live a life blemished by sin. For over eons and lifetimes, we have accepted this contract or agreement that as an embodied feminine, we were the agents of sin and carried with that an eternal shame. Notice where the dragon writhes through your roots, facilitating the emergence of that which you are calling forth. I call forth the terror or fear of God that I accepted as the basis for living a small life. Allow that to emerge. I call forth the despair that I have been excluded from receiving the blessings and abundance of the divine Creatrix. I call forth the fear that I am incapable of saving myself. I call forth the fear of not being good enough to receive grace and love in abundance. I call forth any loathing of my humanness and the humanness of others in my desire to be a fully realized spiritual being. As each of these is lifted from your roots, you are aware of a vibration beginning to flow throughout your body in response to your roots being cleared. They hang around like a cloud around the roots to be cleared. I call forth the fear that life is outside of my control, or that my destiny is governed by an impersonal external force. I call forth the despair or fear that I will ever be good or enlightened enough. I call forth any abdication of responsibility for my sovereign self to others. And as each of these is called forth from within your roots, you may be aware of images or scenes of lifetimes or occurrences where these contracts, oaths, vows, or agreements have been in place or prominent in your life. I call forth the fear that I will be put to death for showing up in the fullness of my power. Isis continues to hold the space for sacred alchemy as you do this, for you call forth in the voice of your sovereign self, commanding that which is ultimately within your control. I call forth the dread of being isolated for expressing my truth from a place of power. I call forth the fear of creating for fear of the judgment of others upon that creation. I call forth the self-imposed confusion that prevents me from owning my personal power. I call forth the shame and experience of poverty from disowning my personal and spiritual power. I call forth any blame I have extended to others as a reason for not accepting my own power or sovereignty. I call forth any addiction that holds me in its power and encourages my ongoing denial of the truth of my sovereign self. I seek out any implants that I have agreed to be tagged with at some level of the unconscious and that have drained my ability to nourish myself fully. These may be alien implants or other, or implants of beliefs, mind viruses. Black Dragon circulates around your roots, revealing and supporting the releasing of that which you have called forth. Spend a few moments now and with your own words, call forth anything that enters your awareness that has been preventing your embodiment of the fullness of your sovereign empowerment. The black dragon now begins to breathe a fiery stream across this cloud of once stagnant energy that has been released, but that sits around your roots. And in the heat of the flame, these vows, contracts, and energetic signatures and implants are dissolved and returned as components to Mother Earth, returned as components to be drawn up by your roots to nourish yourself. And there is a wave of ease and expansion that flows up your body as one by one Black Dragon breathes his fiery breath, and you witness the alchemical magic and the truth of the power of the ultimate Divine Mother. And in the light and heat of that breath, you see below your feet now a black rose unfolding. For the heat has caused the rose to bloom, and you find yourself standing on the velvety softness of deep black petals. The fragrance of the rose is intoxicating, as you are gifted with the love, beauty, and power of the rose. Breathe in that fragrance, that heady, incensey, deep, loving fragrance that flows up from beneath your feet. The awakening of the black rose and the love that it nourishes your root system with brings the ability and capacity to soothe and balm any childhood wounds, any wounds or grief from life. Allow yourself to just breathe this in as you feel the softness of this representation, manifestation of the Divine Mother upon which your body is held. The fragrance of the rose is emanating from the very pores of your body. You become aware of the essence and the strength of Isis beginning to permeate the quantum fabric of your being. She is an attractor for the fragrance of the rose that is holding you. And the black dragon flows on the waves of fragrance and love, weaving it throughout your roots, ensuring that all of your roots receive the nourishment from deep within the heart of this flower. And in this space of supreme love, and before you reconstruct your physical form, you now engage within this sacred space with your statements of forgiveness, forgiving yourself for all of those vows, oaths, creeds, and agreements, for ever having accepted them in the first place. For without the depth of that love and forgiveness, there is a risk or a chance of recreating them. And forgiveness enables release from anything that has caused us pain. I forgive myself for all the ways and all the contracts, vows, creeds, and agreements I have ever agreed to that have kept me seeking approval outside of myself. I love and accept myself fully and completely. I forgive myself for the lives of forgetfulness. I forgive myself for any poverty that has kept me from realizing the power of my own divine source. I now accept the source of my power and the abundance that the Divine Mother brings to life. I forgive myself for any fears that being in my sovereign power would fuel some kind of retribution. I stand firm in my new found sovereignty. I forgive myself for the grief, masked as anger, depression, or arrogance, that I am not worthy or enlightened enough to embody the fullness of divine love. I now open up to receive grace. I forgive myself for all the ways I have punished myself in the belief that my humanness separated me from the Creator's love. All the ways through all dimensions, all lifetimes. Watch as that ripples out. That very act of forgiveness begins to neutralize the binds that have been held through the grids of time. I forgive myself for being inadequate to feel and know the depth of the divine love that I am. I am love. I am sovereign. I am liberated. I stand upon the black rose of the Mother's love, and I allow the fullness and the full power of its beauty to infuse my entire being now. And as you do, you become aware of a golden glow around your body, an emanation of the growth of your golden wings. And Isis now prepares to distance herself from your space, for she is aware that the voltage of your power has been greatly increased through her facilitation. And now the red dragon steps forward. And you welcome the red dragon into your body. For what red dragon now does is weave together and rebind the fabric of your physical body into a unified grid. The atoms and molecules are bound together in new and perfect ways, creating supercharged enzymes and proteins. Your DNA recoils itself, reconfigures itself to hold the codes of your sovereignty and empowerment. Red dragon weaves its way through your blood. You are aware of the strength that is being embodied within you. And she infuses the very life force of your body with the fire of her breath, reanimating your physical form, rebirthing you. And the fire within is literally the phoenix arising from the ashes, the birth of the new you, nourished by purified and cleansed roots. Dragon weaves its way throughout your bones, restoring, repairing, reconnecting, and enlivening the grids with her golden breath. She weaves throughout your nervous system, reconnecting strands, nerve cells within your brain and through your spinal column and out throughout your entire body to enliven your senses, your physical senses, and those that enable you to connect multidimensionally. They are powered up to a new level through the recombinations. You are strong, you are whole, and you are embodying the healed, sovereign self. As your physical vehicle is adjusted to embody and express the self. And all barriers around the heart are dissolved in the waves of love, being pulsed through your roots and into your body through the black rose, fueled and carried by this new grid that has been established within your being. You shine with the light of 1,000,000,000,000,000 stars, and as you look out at Isis, she smiles and blesses your process. You see yourself as a mirror of this grand master of feminine embodiment, this grand portrayal of the beauty, the love, and the power of female sovereignty. You feel invincible, and yet gentle and nourished, unbreakable and yet yielding and soft, strong and yet gentle and loving. And above your head are emitted waves of light like the branches of a tree. These waves of light are the emanations of your internal grid extending beyond your being as you blossom into the fullness, the golden fullness of your true self. Isis now reaches forward as the red dragon completes her job and leaves your body, whole and complete and reconfigured. And Isis steps forward with a golden ankh that she places into your chest, so the point reaches down to the root of your being, with the cross over your heart and the loop extending above your head. You stand in the center of the ankh of life itself, a golden gift for maintaining your sovereign space and in respect and honoring by the mighty and gracious manifestation of the Divine Mother that we know as Isis. You are become like Isis. And you hold this space and now broadcast the love and the waves from the black rose and the fragrance out throughout your body, through the grids that connect you with all of the stars, that connect you with all of life, with all on this call. And all you can see is a golden grid that flows with the beauty and the gentleness of love, a love that you have now for yourself, shared in relationship with all of life. And Isis bids you farewell. As together with her red dragon, they prepare to depart, knowing that you are left infinitely stronger and more powerful, that she has shared with you her gifts and teachings. For within the ankh that has been impressed within your body is a reservoir and library of the ancient wisdoms of the matriarchal societies and power expressed through life. And you bow in gratitude to Isis as she leaves. You give thanks to the dragons, the red and the black. You give thanks to the Great Mother herself for the gift that is your life and for the opportunity for this rebirth as you prepare to step into a brand new cycle. Breathe in deeply. And as you breathe out, your form, your physical body becomes more solid, more present. Take another deep breath in. And as you breathe out, you're aware of the constant pulsing of the black rose beneath your feet, knowing that it is always there for you to connect with when you need. And with one final deep breath in, you breathe out and prepare to open your eyes, knowing that your eyes will shine with the light of 1,000 suns that now resides within you, holding your sovereign self in place through form, ready to step out into the world in the truth and magnificence of your power. And when you're ready, welcome back. Are you guys there? How are you doing? That was actually quite long. I must apologize. Well, apologize, it is what it is. And I wasn't sure how long it was actually going to be. It was just, it's going to take as long as it takes. So I'm sure some of you are still slowly and steadily coming out of it or coming back to consciousness. Rachel says one of her cats always comes onto her lap just as she was about to finish. How are you feeling? Did you enjoy that? Rosemary says that was wonderful. Lovely. And I think that's really the way that we're going to go with some, well, not the way that we're going to go, but we're going to be working with some of the embodiments of the known embodiments of the sacred feminine in order to explore and deepen some of the facets that they bring, the gifts that they bring of that divine mother energy. So Rhoda says, really deep, still vibrating. Yep. Perfect and beautiful. Feel strong, guys. I just feel that strength building as we were going through that. Something really solid and yet and yet light at the same time, very present. There's a very powerful presence that I think has gone along with this. Sovereign and senior, this is who I am. Wonderful, Mary Beth. Just sovereign. Sovereign is cool. Yeah. Um, so let's see. Rachel says, lots of movement in my body throughout the process. I saw a very beautiful yellow flower with long, thin petals as you brought in Isis. Oh, that's interesting. At the end, I saw a pool of water. There was a large number 3 being reflected in the water. Oh, wonderful. Because of course 3 is the ultimate trinity. It's the ultimate fusion, and the divine mother, I think, is the aspect that's been missing from the completion of that trinity. So it's very, very significant that strong, could feel the realignment of my body, perfectly aligned with the energy of the day. Amazing, went in deep, was in several realities, yeah, in a dream state. Wish I could remember what I was doing. Has pieces of confronting people and issues and resolving them. Wonderful, wonderful, beautiful red dragon. Um, yeah, the 3 is the completion of it. You know, we can know these things intellectually, but I think that's the what you've been given is the embodiment of the completion of that trinity, because that's what's been missing from the earth plane, has been, you know, we know that from a sacred geometry perspective, that is the fundamental essence of life. So yeah, it's our embodiment of that now, which is just really beautiful. Wonderful process. Okay, everybody, I know that it's gone on quite long and that it's late. Some of you have a whole day ahead, and some of you, like Max, it's bedtime. So I just want to thank you from wherever you are in the world for joining us. Again, just for being a part of this. You are special and beautiful, indeed, and even more so. And yeah, I love how this feels at the moment. So thank you so much for your sharing, for your energy, for being here. And I look forward to seeing you on the 23rd of May. It feels like such a long way off, but maybe there's a reason that we need some time to actually be and practice being in this space of sovereignty, and then examining, you know, sort of how things change within our environment as we go through the next couple of weeks. So much, much love to all of you. Thanks and gratitude. Have a fantastic day. And as always, If there's anything that you'd like to share, I look forward to hearing from you. Just drop an email. So we've got another thank you. Amazing. Powerful work. Beautiful. Thank you. It's powerful because of all of you. How wonderful is that? So, yes, God bless and have a fantastic week.